During a meeting of ASEAN's military chiefs yesterday, Singapore Defence Chief Lieutenant General Melvin Ong expressed grave concern over the situation in Myanmar. This was shared by other leaders. Myanmar's military chief Min Aung Hlaing also attended the meeting.
8 protesters in Myanmar were killed in the central town of Ong Ban today. This as Myanmar security forces opened fire during a confrontation.
Meanwhile, protesters are looking for and sharing information on incendiary devices like pressure cooker bombs and other weapons like slingshots. Molotov cocktails have also been spotted on the streets.
One thing is clear, many people no longer entertain the idea of a power-sharing arrangement between civilian politicians and the military. They want the latter out.
For the latest, let's check in with the Straits Times' Indo-China Bureau Chief Tan Hui Yi. Hi Hui Yi, welcome back. There are pictures showing protesters using Molotov cocktails and other incendiary devices against the junta. This seems to indicate that the protests aren't as peaceful as they were in the immediate days following the February 1st coup. Is there a shift in the mood among the protesters? What are you hearing, Hui Yi?
Yes, we've been seeing some petrol bombs, some slingshots, and what appears to be fireworks being used in the streets. People have been sharing information on homemade weapons online, though it's not clear that everybody's rushing to arm themselves. There are still peaceful protests taking place, and people are still marching and holding up banners or staging sit-ins, but the numbers on the streets are far smaller compared to before, because police and soldiers are deploying lethal force. We have seen a disturbingly high number of people killed by shots to their heads or necks, which very likely means that snipers were deployed. Security forces have also shot at hospitals that were treating the injured people. So there is a growing sense among protesters that they need to find some way to protect themselves. Now, any instance of armed confrontation will likely be very lopsided. We are talking about homemade weapons versus sophisticated arms imported from countries like China and Russia. It's something that the military can very easily crush. What's more perceptible is that the public is increasingly unwilling to consider any form of negotiation with the junta. Given the kind of violence that they have experienced, many are not open to the idea of returning to the kind of power-sharing arrangement that we had before the coup. They simply want to topple the military.
Right. Well, Hui Yi, some 200 protesters dead, with clashes between protesters and the military growing more violent each day. Is Myanmar on the edge of complete chaos? Is the country actually there already? And what will it take for the country to come back from the brink?
Well, there were incredible scenes coming out of Yangon's industrial zone on Sunday. Scenes that made it look like a war zone. But these images tend to be amplified on social media. My sources who drove through central Yangon yesterday mentioned that cars were traveling normally on major roads, though there were very few pedestrians. What's more insidious is the quiet devastation taking hold in Myanmar society and economy. We have now reached a point where police and soldiers break down the doors to people's homes for any reason. They remove their valuables. They destroy parked cars to intimidate people. They detain people in undisclosed places. They force people at gunpoint to perform free labor. And when they shoot people dead, their families have no recourse. Meanwhile, strikes have paralyzed the banking sector, the logistics network, and imports and exports. So prices of basic commodities are rising. And the shutdown of mobile internet services that we saw since Monday has made it impossible for many businesses to function. What we are seeing right now is an entire country coming to a standstill. So it's vital now for countries with substantial influence and reach in Myanmar, like China and Japan, to work with ASEAN to try to bring the key stakeholders together to reach a resolution.
Right. Well, as always, thank you for the update, Hui Yi. That was our Indo-China Bureau Chief, Tan Hui Yi. The Big Story will continue to track developments in Myanmar, and you can visit straitstimes.com as well for more updates.